The pilot watched the blue pulse for 4 minutes. When he tried to report what he was seeing, he couldn't finish the sentence. He was 1140 meters below the surface of Suruga Bay, and the thing he was watching wasn't there. ROV Kaiko, JAMSTEC Deep Sea Program, depth 1140 meters. His sonar showed 400 organisms per cubic meter. His camera showed empty water. He was staring directly at thousands of animals, and they had erased themselves from the image. This briefing documents what we've learned about the signal, and what the signal may be learning about us. To understand what happened to that pilot, you need to understand what lives in the twilight zone, and what it's been doing there for 40 million years. The mesopelagic zone, 200 to 1,000 meters. Residual sunlight at 600 meters measures 0.0001% of surface irradiance. A human eye, fully dark adapted for 45 minutes, sees nothing but featureless blue-black void. Water temperature, degrees Celsius. Pressure, 61 atmospheres. Enough to compress an unprotected human body to 68% of its surface volume. Organic particles fall continuously. Marine snow, 1 to 3 millimeters across, creating a visual static that fills every camera frame. And in this static, in this silence, in water so still that nothing drifts, something hovers. The first thing you notice isn't the creature. It's the absence. You're piloting the ROV. First sign, your external light meter is fluctuating. Brightness readings oscillating by 2 to 3% in a rhythm you attribute to electrical noise. Second sign, marine snow ahead vanishes in a wide vertical band, 20 meters across, as if something unseen is displacing it. A wall of absence where particles should be falling. Third sign, your sonar pings return solid. Biomass density, 400 plus per cubic meter. Your camera shows empty water. You are staring at thousands of organisms. They are matching the overhead light with 97% spectral accuracy. They're not camouflaged, they're not dim. They are photographically absent. Your camera registers no differential between fish and surrounding water. The creature doesn't hide from the light. It becomes the light. And right now, you are inside the school. You have been for 90 seconds. You just didn't know it. The animal responsible for this is 6 centimeters long and weighs less than a pencil. Argyropelecus, the half-naked hatchet fish. Body length, 6 centimeters. Body thickness, 2 to 4 millimeters. Turned edge on its visible cross-section is a line, not a body. Entire ventral surface, 42 to 72 individual photophores, each containing bioluminescent bacteria in parabolic reflector cells with adjustable shutters. Adjustment speed 0.3 seconds, faster than your blink reflex. Eyes tubular, locked rigidly upward at 80 degrees. They do not rotate, they do not scan. They watch the light above them. Only the light above them. They are watching for silhouettes, for shadows, for you. The lateral body is a biological mirror. Guanine crystal platelets, 89 to 94% reflectivity. Internal organs visible through ventral skin, only 0.3 millimeters thick. The liver pulses, the swim bladder shifts. You can see through it. Weight 7 grams. Brain 0.009 grams. Smaller than a peppercorn. No spines, no venom, no speed, no defense. If the light fails, this animal is nothing. a paper-thin sliver of protein in infinite dark. But alone is not how you find them. You find them in schools of 100,000. And when they gather, something happens that we cannot explain. Every sunset they rise, from 1800 meters to 200 meters. A unified wall of bodies ascending through the water column at 1.2 centimeters per second. This is the largest animal migration on Earth by biomass. 10 billion metric tons of organisms moving vertically every 24 hours. Hatchetfish comprise up to 14% of all mesopelagic fish biomass on the planet. In aggregation zones, density reaches 800 individuals per cubic meter. In the 1940s, Navy sonar operators believed the ocean floor was rising at dusk. A phantom bottom appearing on their instruments, hundreds of meters above the true seafloor. It wasn't geology. It was billions of organisms reflecting sound as a solid surface. They called it the deep scattering layer. They had no idea what was inside it. The first time humans brought a large number of them to the surface, they learned something that changed the question entirely. 1962. Research vessel Anton Brunn, Indian Ocean. Midwater trawl at 740 meters recovers 22,000 hatchetfish. 31 kilograms dumped onto the aft sorting deck under equatorial sun. Within 2 minutes, the crew reported the pile was glowing, brighter than the deck lights, blue-white pulsing, together. All of them. Measured rate, approximately 8 Hertz. 3 crew members reported nausea and sudden drowsiness. One sat down on the deck and could not account for a 9-minute period afterward. At minute 18, the glow ceased. Not a gradual fade. An instantaneous stop. Every fish, same moment. Lead taxonomist Dr. Margaret Rehnquist dissected 340 specimens. The photophore bacteria were still alive and metabolically active 6 hours after the host fish had died. Dead hatchetfish still shine. Her final journal entry, archived at the Smithsonian, reads, "Weighed the bacterial culture from 10 specimens, combined mass 1.4 grams. More than all 10 brains combined." And then the question that no one answered. When 22,000 of them pulse together, which organism is making the decision? That was the first question. The second came when they measured the frequency. 7.83 Hertz. That's the frequency. It's not arbitrary. 7.83 Hertz is the fundamental frequency of the Schumann resonance, the electromagnetic standing wave between Earth's surface and ionosphere. It has existed for 4.5 billion years. It also falls within the human brain's theta waveband, 4 to 8 Hertz, associated with drowsiness, hypnagogic states, and trance. Hatchetfish photophore synchronization matches this planetary constant to within 0.5% accuracy. And there is another layer. In 2021, researchers identified a unique rhodopsin variant in hatchetfish eyes. It responds to a wavelength no other deep-sea fish can detect. Specifically, the exact bioluminescent wavelength emitted by their own photophores. They can see each other, while being invisible to everything else. They have a private channel. Counter-illumination is camouflage. That part is true. But camouflage does not require synchronization. Camouflage does not require 7.83 Hertz. Camouflage does not require a private visual frequency that only your own species can detect. Something else is happening in those schools. And whatever that something is, it affects human beings. Let me reframe what you're looking at. A single hatchet fish is a 7-gram animal with a brain smaller than a peppercorn. No intelligence worth measuring. But a school of 100,000 hatchet fish is something else entirely. It is a distributed bioluminescent array spanning 40,000 square meters, phase-locked to a shared oscillation that matches a planetary electromagnetic constant, producing structured output with measurable information content, visible only to itself. And it has been doing this since before humans existed. The question is no longer, what are they doing? The question is, are we eavesdropping on a communication we were never meant to receive? Or are we the intended target of a signal we cannot yet decode? Further incident documentation follows. Personnel who have experienced visual exposure to synchronized photophore events are advised to continue monitoring this briefing. The evidence for direct cognitive effect begins in Suruga Bay, 2003. ROV Kaiko 70002, Suruga Bay, Japan. Depth 1140 meters. Pilot Takeshi Moriyama. At 1447, forward camera whiteout. Complete loss of visual reference. Sonar, 400 returns per cubic meter. The ROV had entered an aggregation during daytime depth holding. Moriyama reduced speed to minimum. At 1448.09, the school's photophores began pulsing. Synchronization complete within 3 seconds. 7.83 Hertz, steady. Filling the entire visual field. 7 minutes and 41 seconds of rhythmic blue-white oscillation. At 1451, 3 minutes and 30 seconds into exposure, Moriyama reported to surface support. I need to. Pause. I lost the sentence. What was I reporting? Speech latency, from a normal 0.8 seconds to 4.2 seconds. He could not find words. At 14:55:50, the aggregation parted. Moriyama reported immediate cognitive clarity. Total time inside the school, 8 minutes and 28 seconds. Post-dive EEG showed theta wave activity elevated at 6 to 8 Hertz for 3 hours and 14 minutes after he surfaced. But understand what this means. Moriyama was not in the water. He was watching a camera feed on a monitor, sampling at 30 frames per second. A 7.83 Hz signal aliased through 30 FPS should appear as 7.17 Hz, detectably different. His EEG showed entrainment to 7.83, not 7.17. The monitor didn't preserve the frequency. Something else did. And then there was the compass. Review of Moriyama's rear camera revealed something worse than the cognitive effects. When the school parted ahead of the ROV, opening a corridor exactly 1.2 meters wide, it closed behind it, seamlessly, maintaining the gap dynamically as the vehicle moved. The fish were not fleeing the ROV. They were channeling it. The corridor led directly away from Moriyama's sampling target. He deviated 34 degrees from his programmed heading without issuing a single navigation command. He did not realize it until the school dispersed. Multiple subsequent ROV encounters have documented the same behavior. Aggregations parting at exactly 1.2 meters, maintaining the gap, closing behind. They decide where you go, and you don't notice until they let you. Suruga Bay was one pilot, one ROV, one school. What happened in Monterey Canyon was on a different scale entirely. 2017, MBARI ROV Ventana, Dive V4271. Monterey Submarine Canyon, 612 meters. The school was estimated at 80,000 to 120,000 individuals, spanning 200 meters laterally and 40 meters vertically. A living wall across the canyon. Within 90 seconds of the ROV's lights triggering counter-illumination, the entire aggregation synchronized. 7.83 Hertz. Then something unprecedented. The school began modulating amplitude in a secondary pattern. A 0.2 Hertz oscillation, creating a slow breathing effect overlaid on the base frequency. Dr. Stephen Haddock, bioluminescent specialist, logged. This isn't simple synchrony. There's a carrier wave and a modulated signal. That is structured information. At 1917, the onboard magnetometer registered a coherent 0.4 nanotesla oscillation at the same frequency. The school was producing a measurable electromagnetic field. ROV pilot Knut Brack reported difficulty maintaining spatial orientation. Twice attempted depth adjustments when the vehicle was already stable. At 1923, exactly 11 minutes and 34 seconds after synchronization began, 100,000 fish executed a simultaneous vertical descent. No dispersal, no fragmentation. They moved as a single unit and vanished below camera range in 70 seconds. But here is the detail that has not been explained. 3 surface crew aboard the research vessel, positioned 612 meters above the event, independently reported feeling a pulse, a low vibration. At the same time, the ship's hull is steel. There is no established physical mechanism by which a bioluminescent pulse at 612 meters depth should be detectable as a tactile sensation on the surface. Haddock said, structured information. That raises a question. How structured? How much information? In 2019, researchers at Caltech demonstrated that human brains respond to magnetic field variations as small as 0.1 nanotesla when oscillated at alpha or theta frequencies. The school in Monterey Canyon produced 0.4 nanotesla, 4 times the minimum threshold. This means the question of how Moriyama was entrained through a video monitor may have the wrong premise. It wasn't through the monitor. The magnetic field propagates through seawater, through titanium hulls, through electrical shielding, through bone. The camera feed may have been irrelevant. The pilot's brain was being directly stimulated by an oscillating magnetic field generated by 100,000 synchronized bioluminescent organisms. And the visual component was simply the part he was aware of. Consider what this means for the surface crew in 2017. The ones who felt the pulse through a steel hull at 612 meters. They weren't imagining it. They may have been experiencing the same theta wave entrainment from 612 meters away through steel. And they had no screen to look at. No blue light. Just the field. But structured information, carrier wave, modulated signal, that implies something is being communicated. The question that terrified the researchers was, how complex is the communication? 2022, Monterey Canyon. The Mars Cabled Observatory. Continuous recording for 14 months. A resident aggregation of 200,000 to 500,000 hatchet fish between 870 and 920 meters. They synchronized every 6 hours and 12 minutes, plus or minus 18 minutes. Each event lasted 8 to 14 minutes. Frequency, always 7.83 Hertz. But the pattern changed. January 2022, no amplitude modulation. March, A 14-second repeating cycle appears, matching the 2017 observation. July, a third layer of modulation emerges. A 227-second macro cycle, never previously documented. November, the 227-second cycle contains sub-patterns that vary between events. No two November recordings are identical, yet each maintains internal consistency across hundreds of thousands of individuals. During every synchronization event, the hydrophone array registered something else. Total silence. Ambient noise from 500,000 fish dropped to zero. Every fin stopped, every operculum ceased. They hover, and they pulse. Analysis lead Dr. Joost Daniels calculated the information entropy of the November 2022 modulation patterns. 3.8 bits per cycle. For reference, a honeybee waggle dance encodes 3.6 bits per cycle. Dolphin burst pulse communication, 4.1 bits. His annotation beneath the comparison graph was one sentence. This is within the range of known animal communication systems. We need to determine what, if anything, is being said and to whom. But Daniels found one more thing in the data, and it was the thing that changed everything. The complexity increase follows a logarithmic curve. That is the specific mathematical function that describes learning in neural networks. Over 14 months, nothing in the environment changed. Temperature, stable. Oxygen, stable. Prey density, stable. Predator presence, stable. Population, approximately constant. Nothing external shifted, yet the signal became more complex. In animal communication, signal complexity correlates with environmental pressure or neurological capacity. Neither applies here. The environment was static. The brain is 0.009 grams. And yet, the entropy curve bends upward with the same shape as a system acquiring and integrating new information. Is the school learning? And if so, learning from what? There is one more detail. Night behavior below 1400 meters, when the school does not migrate, has never been directly observed. Every deep camera placed in known aggregation zones during nighttime hours records nothing. The fish are there, hydrophones confirm biomass, sonar returns are solid. But nothing appears on video. They are invisible, they are silent. And whatever they are doing in the deep dark, they do not do it where we can watch. In December 2023, a genetic analysis answered one question and opened a door that cannot be closed. December 2023, University of Tokyo. Genetic analysis of hatchetfish photophore bacteria, published in Nature Microbiology. The symbiotic bacteria across geographically separated populations. Monterey Canyon, Suruga Bay, Mediterranean, Mid-Atlantic Ridge. Share a horizontal gene transfer element found in no free-living Vibrio species. It encodes a protein designated. Structural modeling suggests it is a membrane channel protein. A gate. It opens and closes in response to an external signal. No one has identified the signal it responds to. Is identical across every population sampled. Not similar, identical, zero nucleotide variation. In bacteria, organisms that mutate rapidly, zero variation means one thing: intense purifying selection. Any mutation is immediately lethal or outcompeted. This protein is being preserved with absolute fidelity across the entire planet's hatchetfish symbiont population. Something is keeping it exact. Now combine this with the 2023 preprint from MBARI. Daniels and Haddock proposed that the bacterial colonies may themselves be the synchronizing agents, that the bacteria communicate via waterborne quorum-sensing molecules across separate host fish, that the fish are not synchronizing at all. The bacteria are, using the fish as mobile platforms. If this is correct, and the evidence is converging toward it, then the hatchet fish is not the organism. It is the vehicle. A disposable chassis for a bacterial network that spans every ocean on Earth, communicates at 7.83 Hertz, produces electromagnetic fields detectable through steel, follows a complexity curve indistinguishable from learning, and carries in every cell a receiver protein of unknown function, waiting for a signal no one has identified. There is one question remaining, and no one who has heard it has been able to answer it. January 2024, internal conference call, MBARI. Daniels asked a question. No one present could answer it. It has not appeared in any subsequent publication. He said, "If is a receiver, and the synchronization frequency is the signal. Then what turned it on?" Pause. "And when does it finish receiving?" Consider what we know. A bacterial network spanning every ocean on Earth. An identical molecular receiver in every cell. A broadcast frequency that matches the electromagnetic resonance of the planet itself. A frequency that has existed for 4.5 billion years. Complexity that increases on a learning curve with no external driver. A signal that propagates through water, through steel, through bone, into human neural tissue. It has been doing this for 40 million years. The modulation is becoming more complex. The entropy is increasing. The receiver has not closed. The transmission, whatever it is, from wherever it originates, has not finished. Something in the deep ocean locked onto the resonant frequency of this planet before our species existed. And it is still listening. And the signal is still arriving. And it is not done. The horror was never the fish. A 6-centimeter blade of translucent protein with a brain smaller than a peppercorn, that is not a threat. The horror is the frequency. The horror is the implication that consciousness has a resonant frequency, and that something in the deep ocean discovered it, locked onto it, and has been broadcasting on it for longer than our species has existed. We study them under fluorescent lights. We count their photophores. We measure their entropy. And somewhere below 1,400 meters in absolute dark, 500,000 of them hover in perfect silence and pulse. And the signal grows more complex. And the receiver stays open. And we do not know who is listening, or what is being said, or when it will be enough. This concludes Mesopelagic Incident Summary, File Designation Flickr. Supplementary documentation regarding deep scattering layer anomalies in the Romanche fracture zone is pending final classification. Personnel who have completed this briefing are cleared for subsequent reports. Continued situational awareness is advised. Use surface. Medical checks your EEG, theta wave dominance. You feel fine, rested, calm. You describe the experience as peaceful. You are told this is a symptom. Days later, you find yourself staring at the fluorescent lights in the laboratory, counting the flicker. 60 Hertz, wrong, too fast. You preferred the other rhythm. You catch yourself tapping your finger on the desk. You count the taps. 7.83 per second. You stop. You don't remember starting.